All right, YouTube, we're back with suspension components for the front end of the XC90, the free XC90. We are going to do lower control arms, outer tie rod ends, whereas since we're going to have the ball joints are going to go into the outside edge of the lower control arms. Has all new hardware for mounting the lower control arms. We're going to do it on both sides, and when we get to the right side over here, driver's side, or left side, sorry, I'm looking at it backwards, so the driver's side left front wheel, that one has a cracked boot, outer boot on the drive shaft, but it didn't even split any grease when I saw it when I was under there doing the links. So with that in mind, it's still clean inside, not making any noises or popping. We're just going to, when we take this one apart, we're going to pull that left axle out, and we're going to redo the boot. That is not an easy project. That's something I'm going to do with my dad at his house because he has a long history of doing that on old Oldsmobile Tornados. He's done a bunch of those and he has all the tools to do it. So I'm going to take that axle once I get that one off. We'll do this one first with all the components besides the boot, and then we'll go over here once we have the experience, and we'll pull that axle out and do the other component stuff and get it back together, all together with a new boot. This is about, I think, $500 worth of parts. Aftermarket parts, obviously Melee instead of Volvo OEM, although they are a Volvo OE manufacturer. And we're not replacing the whole CV axle because it is not bad. It just needs a new boot. That boot had just ripped, probably set a little bit, and then we started driving this thing. And yeah, let's get the stability back in this thing. These bushings, when I was doing engine mounts, you can just see that these are cracked. And even with the engine mounts, the transmission's working perfect, but at highway speeds, there's a little bit of feedback in the front end, and I think it's just these old bushings are moving about a little bit, and it's just a little bit squirmy. So let's tighten this thing up. I know that these are cracked on both sides, especially this one. I'm not sure on this one, but this one was definitely cracked. So let's tighten this front end up. These boots on the tie rod ends, on the outer tie rod ends, are all cracked and squished, not doing very well. So let's just update all this. The ball joint, I don't know if it's bad or not. It's not popping and making noises, but we're here. So I'm just going to do it anyway. All right, so back over here on the right front passenger side. What are we replacing today? Well, we're going to replace this, obviously. We will need an alignment after we do the lower control arms in this. But there's the bushing that you can see that is completely ripped right in front of my fingernail. So just on that inside, that is completely ripped. This thing is moving around. It's just swimming a little bit on that bushing. The bushing's old and gone. So we just need to disconnect the ball joint while we're in. We'll get it. We're going to do them one at a time. We're going to do the lower control arm first. We'll get it reconnected with a new ball joint, and then we'll come back and do this outer tie rod end. So it just sits in here. This boot is pretty bad. They were pretty bad. And I figured since I'm in here, they're not expensive. We'll just do them all at once and get one alignment and be done with it. So we just got to get this taken apart. There's some big bolts. Obviously, there's a big bolt here. Two big bolts coming from the inside here. So there, I don't know if you're looking at it, but there's a big bolt here. It actually comes from the bottom, and that's the nut. So we're going to play with some big boy bolts here. And then the ball joint is sitting on the bottom of the hub down here. It rests between the hub and the top of the control arm. So that's going to be a little bit fun to get apart. We're going to beat it with a hammer. So real quick, I just went ahead and disconnected the ABS sensor that goes down inside the top of the hub here. It's just a simple little, let me find it over here. It's just an 8mm bolt. Just sits down in there. As soon as you pop that off, it goes in that little hole and mounts it to the hub. You can just pull this out. I believe you can just disconnect both of these connectors, and it creates enough slack that if this moves, the whole hub assembly moves a little bit once we get the control arm out of the way, it should be fine. But just looking at the massive size of this brake, that thing is huge. I know with my little bicyclist upper body that I don't want to be holding this thing and trying to keep it from breaking. A little bitty electrical cable for me, 8mm bolt, is a lot worth it just to be peace of mind. Hang this up there. We'll come back to it later. I think it's actually a magnet, just senses that tone ring going by. It doesn't seem magnetic, but I think it's just a little itty bitty magnet, senses the pace of the grooves and the tone ring going by. It's like a big gear. All right, YouTube, quick update. This one came apart nice and easy. I just used a breaker bar, 1/2-inch breaker bar, and did it on the bottom only and got it to spin until the top was spinning with it. So just broke it free and then stuck a little box end wrench on it and was able to get that one nice and loosened up. It's just, I can actually twist that one by my fingers now. Piece of cake. This one, they don't show you this on the videos, so I'm showing it to you. They show taking these control arms off on that side over there by the transmission, and there's plenty of space. You can actually see the bolts over there. However, on the V8, and I don't think it's that much different on the T5 or the turbo 5 cylinders or even the 6 cylinders, those bolts are right where my fingers are, right there and there. And this is all in the way. You cannot get an impact socket in there. It's a 15mm bolt head. You can't get an impact socket into this. It just sticks out too long and doesn't get the right angle. So you would have to lift this engine. Luckily, I think these are at 70 foot-pounds since there's 2 of them. I was able to get in here just on a 3/8" driver, and this little swivel head one has a longer handle. And I just bumped it with my, got it on there nice and firm as I could, and bumped it with my wrist or my meat of my hand, and it popped free. Both of them are free. I just need to get this, I think this is a 17 to break free. Might have to get the car up in the air higher so I can get a better angle on this bolt with my impact wrench, because I was doing it with a universal joint. It's just not got a good angle. So this probably has to go higher for me to be able to do this. You know what? I might just do it by putting the jack underneath here and lifting this bad boy up in the air a little bit. That would probably be quicker. Yeah, I might try that. Get a little better angle, but these came off nice and easy. Again, they show you on the videos how to do it over there. That's kind of cheating because that side's going to be easy after this side is done. All right, YouTube, I lied. That's a 21 on the bottom of here, but that bad boy is frozen. It does have a hex head inside there so you can keep it from spinning, but it's not even turning on the ball joint. Nothing is spinning in there. I went ahead and hit it with a whole bunch of PB Blaster. We'll use this cheap stuff and see if it'll get in there first. If not, I'll try my dad's, whatever it is, Hoppy's number 9 or something like that. But you can see this bushing right here where my finger's at is pancaked and completely cracked. So I can actually slide my finger in there if I worm it in. That thing is completely lost its grease. It's doing nothing. It's going to fail here soon. I'm sitting here contemplating my life choices because this is brutally hard. I wanted to do this one first and then we'll tackle that. I'm going to hit that with some PB Blaster because I guarantee that tie rod end is not going to come out friendly. And then we're going to jump over there. And we are going to PB Blaster the shit out of all of these bolts now, because I'm probably not even starting those until at the earliest tomorrow night, or maybe Sunday when I have some free time. Houston, I think we have a problem. That little lower oil pan, it is definitely weepy because I've mopped it up, and it's already weeping again. That's RTV. That's gray RTV. I'm pretty sure that these have anaerobic sealant is what's spec'd. So that's not even the right product. So now I'm really questioning my life choices. I think there's 2, this is the bottom part of it, and there's an intermediate, there's an upper part of the oil pan as well. So I think once I get this lower one off, it's easier to get to that top one. But I'm gonna watch some Google videos on that. You'll get to see more repairs coming. It's definitely leaking above though too, so it's definitely valve covers. And then this pan, who knows what's all up there. We'll find out. All right, that was a good start. I'm in the same situation on both lower control arms. The bolts on the subframe came off nice and easy. Not a piece of, not difficult at all. Didn't even need the power hammer, whatever it is, air ratchet, electric ratchet. It's not air. Same situation on the ball joints on both sides. So I have sprayed the hell out of everything. I've sprayed the hell out of everything on that side, the knuckle, all the bolts, because I know they're coming off to do the axle on that side. Everything's going to penetrate overnight. I'm going to go inside, have a bratwurst, enjoy my evening, and we'll try to do this again tomorrow because it just kicked my ass, and that's enough. I'm calling it quits early. All right, YouTube, day 2 with the XC90 front suspension lower control arms. We're going to try to pop those free, but I hit the junkyard this morning because a silver 2008 hit the junkyard, so I pulled out a fuel door. I'm waiting on a new hinge to come in, so this one is intact. It hasn't been broken. I didn't even know these floor mats, rubberized Volvo mats, came in a oak color to match the interior. So I have a black one in there, but all that car had was that. Unfortunately, that came out of a different car. It had dark interior and had, for some reason, had the tan third row of seat pad. I did find a black rear mat that goes in the cargo area. As long as the seats fold down, it fits. And I actually went there to get these little bolts because I snapped them the other day. So little battery connector bolts, and I found a light bulb. So that was a productive little run. Let's see with the lower control arms ball joints have broke free. All right, YouTube, so still battling the ball joint nut. The 21mm nut has not broke free, so I went ahead and put the Hoppies number 9 on there on all the sides, both sides of the car. And while it said, I went ahead and did the right side, passenger side, outer tie rod end. This was easy. It's just an 18mm nut on the top. It's an 8mm to hold the flat sides of this so it can spin freely. But that came off nice and easy. What I did is I backed this off. I think this was I'm trying to remember, 21 and a 19 or an 18, can't remember. I think it was 21 and 19 flats right there to be able to get that lock nut to pop free. And then just spun that away. And then what I did is I counted how many turns it took to get this one off. And to do that, you got to hold this. And I think that was a 13mm that held this, so it doesn't spin, but until you get it free, because it's, you know, corrodes on there. So it took 15.5 turns before it popped. So I went 15.5 turns to put it back on and tightened it up. So that should be good. It should be close enough on our alignment for that. Obviously, all of this is going to change with the new control arms. So obviously, we're going to get a new alignment done on that, a lifetime alignment. So I did head over. I gave up. I had a 21, my 21mm, is this it? No, that's an 18. There's a 21 sitting around here. Oh, it's up on the workbench. They're thin-walled. So they are Pittsburgh brand. They are not that thick, not that great. So I actually went, and look at that. That's quite a bit thicker. Went to Napa and got a lower profile one that makes it a little easier to get in there with the angle. And got a 21mm that's thicker, because what's happening is it's just rocking on there, and it's just eating away the nut. And it's just had that same problem when we did the Toyota, the harmonic balancer. I think it was a 19mm on the Toyota from the sad shaft, the harmonic balancer. It wouldn't break it free, and I had to actually get one that was really, really thick. A specialty one. Had to order that off Amazon before it would, even these Carlisle ones wouldn't pop it free. So I'm going to try this and see if that gets a little bit more torque on there without flexing the socket. We'll see. Oh, look at that. Proper tool for the job. Yeah, that little snubby 21 doesn't flex nearly as much. Pop that free. Came right off, just a couple hits. Piece of cake. Now let's see if I can pop it off of the the control arm off of that stud. And then I did by a little hammer. Got a little extra heavy duty persuasion here, 3-pound little sledgehammer, and some punches, and we'll try to get this ball joint to come out of the hub. All right, YouTube, this is exactly how not to do it. As you can tell, I have taken off the caliper and I have hung it up in the top of the spring by a wire. I'm gonna take the entire brake off so I can get access into here. But I actually popped these free before I got the ball joint free. So now I'm in a situation where I'm just gonna try to get the entire ball joint assembly. Let's get some light. I'm gonna try to get that entire assembly to pop free. I pulled the two 13mm bolts out of it, but so far nothing has broken free. And with the brake and the disc in place, I really can't get in here to get any leverage on it to start breaking it free. I don't have an air chisel. Might have to borrow one of those from my dad. I don't even know if he has one. So right now what I'm doing is I'm gonna take the wheel, or the bracket is, the caliper is now hung. I'm gonna pull the bracket off. One bolt holds on the disc. And then I'll have a lot more access to get in here and pound and try to get that ball joint mount to break free from the hub. Don't do it this way. This is not the right way to do it, but it's where I'm at. Day 3 on the lower control arm ball joints. They are still frozen. Went to AutoZone and got that out of their tool rental. Unfortunately, it's too small. The span isn't enough at max capacity, so when you unscrew this all the way out and these are touching, it just can't get over. It has to span from where my finger's at on the bottom of the stud to right there, and it just can't do it. Even tried to hammer it on there, and it just doesn't have the throw. So it needs to be a little bit bigger capacity one of these. My dad has one of these, so he's bringing it over. We'll see if his is bigger. Probably is from the Oldsmobile Tornado days, so we'll wait until he gets here. I did apply a little bit of heat with an industrial hot air gun. Got that warm enough. It wasn't scalding hot. I mean, it's still warm to the touch. And the fork still can't pop anything free. So that's where we're at. He is bringing over an air chisel, and we're going to try to get this plate to dislodge once we get this out of the way. Or maybe we do them at the same time. I don't know. All right, YouTube, we got this at Harbor Freight. It is a forged ball joint separator, but it wasn't big enough to get around the Volvo ball joint, so we had to take it on an angle grinder and take about 2.5, it was 19 millimeter of a space, and we had to take it to 22, 23 to get around the top. On the driver's side, that worked. It made a horrendous pop. We didn't know if it, we thought we'd actually broke the cast iron teeth, but it actually broke it free on this side. However, when we came to this side of the car, I was using the breaker bar, and we had this thing opened up so far, you can see that this is discolored across here. We were flexing this bar. This cast iron piece was ready to snap.
Yeah, right here to top.
Yep, we were ready to give up on that. That was, I don't think I'll ever use this again. That thing ain't gonna be safe. So we gave up on that because that felt like losing nothing but losing all of our teeth. We took an air hammer, air chisel to it, and we just hit it and hit it and hit it with a regular chisel, and suddenly this one broke free first. We were able to get the ball joint out. They are just so corroded and scaly inside. I'll take you down here and show you what it looks like. It has been an all-day adventure. Nope, it lights up all, it adjusts. Modern technology, there it is. Look how scaly that thing is where that ball joint sits up in there. That is nasty. This has got to be the original one. This is a Colorado car. It hasn't seen salt. And it did not want to come free. So I'm going to take a wire brush to that, clean all that up. We are definitely putting that in there with anti-seize. Going back together on both sides. We'll get this lower control arm in. Once this is out, this is easy. That one fell out because I pulled it out of the subframe first by mistake. Although I did see people on YouTube did it that way. I don't know. I wouldn't do it that way again. And then, yeah, we get the ball joint in here, put the control arm back on this side, get this all mounted back together. And then I'm going to pull this axle out, but I need the lower control arm to support all this when that happens so it doesn't pull this inner CVC apart. Yeah, more progress. Things are happening. YouTube, there's progress. The ball joint is back in. I'm so excited. I'm going to show you with my face. Proof of life. It's right there. My dad's talking about the ladder in the background. He wants to be on YouTube. It is in. This goes in really easy. Cleaned it up with a wire brush. I filled it, coated everything with anti-seize. It's really easy for the next guy.
That stuff over here.
YouTube, it is back together. The axle is out. It is not torqued in. These are just sitting in here holding everything in place. The only thing that is sitting at torque was the end of the tie rods, outer tie rod ends. So everything is bolted back in. 2 bolts here coming through the thing. Back, that one's got a bolt and a nut. And we have a nut on the ball joint. It is all back together. Just got to rebuild an axle with a whatever it's called. And then over here, I will work my way in and show you. Oh, goodness. Here we go. And I'll try to get it lit up so you can see a little bit better where I have the ball joint. So the ball joint is going to go into there. I have been wire brushing on that for probably 10 minutes. And I think that's as good as I'm going to get it. I'm going to coat that entire thing with, there you go, now you can see, with anti-seize. I'm going to, I'll wire brush a little bit more here on the lip and get all this machine surface nice and ready for some anti-seize, and back in a new ball joint goes. YouTube, and just like that, these go in so easy. Like, this is so much easier, and I'm honestly hoping that the next person, because of all the thread or the anti-seize that's in there, these should pop out nice and easy. Yeah, the hard part on this side is going to be the axle is staying. We took the axle off first to be able to get the lower control arm in there easier and maneuver everything without this big bulge being in the way. But this one, it's staying, and you'll see here that this bolt does not come out because the engine oil pan on the back side is in the way on the V8. You can't get enough space. I think on the regular engines you can't get enough space either. But I got to get back into there, feed that bolt up from the bottom, get that one lined up, and at the simultaneous, after we get that bolt through, put a nut on the top so it doesn't fall out. It's not going to fall out. I mean, it barely gets through. And then get these threaded. And then we'll jack this up in the air to get it to line up and drop that into its socket, or its little conical shape there where the ball joint sits. So I think it goes the other way. No, it does go like that. That's exactly how it goes. It taper fits right down into there. Fun stuff. And we're back to contemplating our life choices. The ball joint is sitting in there nice and perfect. I was able to get this finagled in there and get the bolt up through the back. You can just see it sticking up at the tip of my finger back there on the subframe. This one, I cannot get this shaft to rotate square to the subframe. I saw a way to do that with a C-clamp. I do not have a C-clamp big enough, so that will probably be my next purchase, is a gigantic C-clamp. I've contemplated popping this free and let it hang on the axle and on the tie rod end, but I'm fearful that it's going to pull that apart because this should be in there before I pop these apart. So it's resting on that. So not really sure how I should proceed at this point to get that square enough to get those bolts to come in through the back and grab a hold. It was a lot easier on the other side without an axle in the way. Yeah, that's where I'm at, contemplating my life choices. This is not an easy project. Actually, I'm happy the other control arms are out, so we're making progress. More contemplating of the life choices. Oh, I should have made more coffee. I'd have more energy right now. All right, so I just watched an FCP YouTube video, and they do it completely different. All right, we're looking at the current state of this side. The other side's all put back together, just missing the drive shaft till we rebuild the outside boot. All right, on the FCP system, pretend this is all together, not apart. That's still bolted, and this is still sitting on the lower control arm. They remove this, the ABS, this. They take off these two. They pull it apart, support the axle up with a bungee cord into the spring so it stays, doesn't drop down, doesn't fall out of the engine, doesn't extend itself. They leave it in place. Then they pop this bottom one off, the 21 off the ball joint, and they lift the entire hub free. And then they work on this all by itself. I think that's what I need to do here, and I'm just sitting here contemplating, since this is not together, this is not sitting on there, I need to pop this one first. This isn't going to be that heavy when the axle, when it doesn't have the spring pushing back against it. So this can be held, especially since I don't have the disc on it. But pop this one free again. It's already torqued, but I can reset it. Pop it free. Get ready to support the axle. Drop these two off. Lift this off. And then get this on there all by itself. Drop this back into the... Drop the ball joint back into its press fit space. Get the axle into it. Put a nut on it. Yeah, I just got to make sure, as long as I can pull this nut and that axle moves, we haven't tested this side. If that axle's free, this should work. I'm going to pull this nut real fast and see if I can get that to move. All right, that wasn't that bad. That freed up. Man, is that rusty in there. This car, again, these are probably originals. So it is not separated. It is still there. Hung it by a bungee cord. Just had it ready. I'd already done the backside and just stretched it up and pulled it all the way. And lo and behold, this is now hanging on the strut. And I can get to this and get right angles. I can now lift this without damaging my ball joint. Get it where I need it. And get that into place. And then I'm still going to have to undo these to be able to lift this and set it on there and flex it down. So that's where we're at. Does this feel like low energy? Feels like low energy to me. I'm on day 3. This thing's kicked my ass. Don't know if I'll do it again. Lower control arms. I may pass. So just tell me one thing. Why did I watch not FCP Euro's video? Because this is way easier. That was 1A Auto's version, and that's difficult, especially on this side. They show it on the easy side over there without the engine in the way. This is way better. Way better. Look at that. That's bolted nice and firm. I'll get the torque set on this one. I can't get a torque wrench onto this one. Can barely even get to it, so I just got it as tight as I could with an open-ended wrench. And we got to tighten those down. All right, YouTube, you're getting the real skinny. Once this is off of the spring, it's not that bad. That's my left weak bicyclist arm, so that's on there tight. We'll, you know what? I might just torque those up while they're sitting here nice and easy to get to. Here is the arm. It is in there, and they are torque mounted. 48 here, 77 there. It is good. So now I can just pick this up and drop it right down into there. I'm gonna get a whole bunch of anti-seize on there, and I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna torque these while they're sitting on the ground, nice and easy. Yeah, piece of cake. And then so yeah, this is gonna go back on. It'll be sitting out. We put the axle in, and then we get it into its mounts on here, and it goes back in for another alignment. So yeah, how does this swing around? I guess they are kind of bigger holes, maybe bigger than the bolts, so it can swing a little bit and move those to get the alignment set up. I guess that's what's going on. Let me see. Let me poke one through. No, that's firm. That don't move. That's firm. That's where it's at. So I don't know how they adjust the alignment on this car. I thought it was by these things moving, but apparently not. Not really sure. All right, YouTube. That was so easy. So just lifted that in, set it on there. I used the long handle of my pry bar, stuck it in the wedge right there. Pried that down to get one of these bolts. I got the axle already going in there, but everything was sitting too high. As soon as I pried this arm down onto the bushings, these bushings here, I got this pried down. That allowed a bolt to go in right there. Lifted this one up, pushed it in, got that bolt in. There's no nuts on anything. There's no nuts on the ball joint yet, but it is all where it is supposed to be. The axle did not come apart. It finally popped out all the way to its thing. I gotta do a control. I gotta do the put the link back on, but this side can be tightened up and have a wheel put back together. That's what this is. This side is looking good. I just got to torque some stuff. Voila, and just like that, the progress continues. I cleaned off the brake pads, this is not torqued on yet, and then I just realized I still haven't torqued these. So, yep, I got to do those. It's 18s on the front, 21s on the back. Pretty common combo up here on the front suspension and steering. And then the bracket is 18, so I'll get all that torqued up real quick, and then I'll get the caliper set back down on there. Coming back to life. YouTube, it's starting to look like a wheel again. It's got a brake on it. I did replace the little stripped ones that were in there. This was an M6, and I bought it's supposed to be an M6 14, and I got a M6 16 with a 10mm head at Ace Hardware to replace that, because that one was totally stripped. They were stripped on both wheels. These weren't kind of lined up right, and they kind of like put it in there crooked, and they barely came out. So luckily I was able to clean up the threads and get that one to work back in there. I am going to pull the center cap out, the Volvo center cap out of the wheel to remind me that when this is sitting on the ground that this needs to be tightened up, as well as the ball joint on the bottom. I can't do it because it just wants to spin now. There's not enough weight sitting down onto the lower control arm, but everything has been torqued. I just need to put back my ABS sensor up here. Just drops down in the hole with a little 8mm bolt, and then 5 lug nuts, and this side is done. I thought I'd never say that. All right, YouTube, it is back together. Wheels on, but not torqued. Obviously, I took the center caps off because I still need to get it on the ground and to tighten that one up, and then do all the wheels and the ball joints on the bottom. Next week, I'll head over to my dad's with the axle and the boot rebuilt kit. We'll rebuild that over there on his workbench, and then I'll come back and get it put into here. Everything's kind of set together. The knuckles are just sitting there. The bolts aren't tight. I don't remember if nothing got torqued over here except for this. This is the only thing that was ever torqued. And I did that the day before, well, and the link a couple days or a week ago. So I did switch the front wheels. So last week when I finally got them broke free, I did a rotation. Backs to the front, fronts crisscross to the back. And on the right front, which is now sitting there underneath the car, it felt a little wobbly, so I'm going to switch them and see if I notice it on the left, just to pinpoint it down to see if it's that tire that's got a little wobble in it. Interestingly enough, I just looked on the back of it, and one of the weights looked shifted out of its spot, like, well, both of them would have had to, but they're not, like they were in a different spot before, so I wonder if they just got bumped or moved. But yeah, this wheel was on the other side. This one, I think, was okay, so I'll spend more time after I get this front CV axle rebuilt with it. Well, not rebuilt, just a new boot. And then I'll spend more time getting this one back together and show you how I did it. So yeah, they are on there. That was not easy. Be safe, YouTube. YouTube, it's axle rebuild time. Pulling it apart. YouTube, it's on the bench. Absolutely terrifying. Whacking that with the brass punch or whatever they call that thing and getting enough pressure on it that it pops across the circlip. Not fun. The entire time it feels like you're going to break stuff. And I just thought, at the end, we just said $600 axle at Volvo. I could go pick it up at the dealership most likely today. Screw it. Hit it as hard as we can. It popped. And yeah, so very terrifying and not such a great soundtrack going on in here over at the Pop Shop. That was literally ABBA.
Much later.
Taking apart and reassembling the CVC joint onto the axle, I give it 0 stars. Cannot recommend. And just some evidence of life for the CVC axle. There it is in all of its new boot glory. It was ripped right here on the tip, on the end. But the whole way driving home, it just made me think to myself, it's all life choices and consequences. And is it really, made me contemplate, is a free Volvo XC90 really worth it? Literally free. Is it worth it? Chime down below. Let me know. Check it out, YouTube. Back in the garage. Time to get dirty. Well, hopefully not dirty today because everything's just going back together and it's all been cleaned up. This is the rebuilt boot for the XC90, and I was waiting on these to arrive from Amazon. 18 bucks, I think it was, 18.15 with prime shipping, so sales tax is 18.15. And now we got the right shapes that we can jump in here and pinch these without pulling them away. Like the wire cutters just want to lift the ring off of where it sits. You can kind of see it was lifting it a little bit right there. So, or just, you know, the snips were. So we will use this, and this is a special one. So it's got that angle facing forward or that side facing sideways, depending on which orientation you need to get in there. So yeah, $18. Chrome vanadium. That's got to be good, right? Chrome vanadium. What it's made of and who made it, apparently. So yeah, I'll get these clamped down. No idea how tight they got to be. I'll do my best until they don't rotate, I guess. And then we'll get this in the car. Piece of cake. And with the proper job, it is, or proper tool for the job, it is super easy. That was just nice and easy to clamp. They just pushed right in and we are finished. I don't know if they're as strong as this original one is or not, but we will find out if it ever starts spitting oil and moving all over the place. Some minor assembly required back at the scene of the crime. We got the axle ready to go back in. This bolt is just holding the carrier up here. Actually, I put both of them through just to hold it in place so it's not stressing out the tie rod end bushing. But we need to get these back in there, and then we're going to have to make sure everything on this side is torqued, because I don't know. Pretty sure these are torqued. Pretty sure they are. But we'll redo it. I know what is not torqued. We're going to make sure everything is torqued. And get this brake built back together. Get the axle in there. Get the brake rotor back on there. Rebuild the caliper back on here. This is all just assembly, right? Shouldn't be that dirty. And I hope not, because my last set of rubber gloves. Alright, and supposedly, I'm going to turn this off so it doesn't pulse on you guys. I know it shows up on the film as pulsating. Let the camera adjust. Let the phone camera, right? These things are amazing. Anyway, this little circlip, this little square-edged one, is reusable. This comes on the axle, and this goes inside the transmission. I watched the video several times, and it would appear that Sue from what used to be TPQ, TRQ, and is now 1A Auto on YouTube, she puts it together, and she puts this gap, the expander gap, facing up so that gravity helps her. So the weight of this ring is going to fall down when she goes to shove it in there. So the theory is we just get this go in there and it pops past that retainer ring, that circlip, and then we just get the hub, get this carrier. This is the hub right here. This bearing feels fine. We get the carrier to lay out on its, just to have the ball joint holding it and the tie rod end to hold it, and let it lay away, and it gives us enough space to run the outer axle through the spindle right here, and then we can lock it in with this brand new one, which is really much nicer. Just not corroded, so comes with new reddish pink Loctite. All right, YouTube, so there's the gap, that little hole going into the transmission. That is where, that was really ugly light vibrations coming through on the film. I just gotta get this back out of the way so we don't break it. It got caught up here in the spring. That's my ABS sensor. So we're just gonna slide that axle into there until it pops. It'll go ping when that circlip gets into its spot. And then it's the opposite thing down here with the splines coming into the back of the hub now that I pulled it away from the carrier, or the carrier's pulled away from the strut. So let's see how this goes. Oh my God, YouTube, I'm so excited I forgot to include you in this little process. So let me bring you up to speed. We got the axle in, it was a piece of cake. I actually took the hub, carrier, pulled these bolts out. All it was sitting there on was the ball joint, so I could get it all out of the way. Had my wife flex this arm down. I was able to push hard and get that to pop into place. And then get the arm leveled down and get the hub carrier mounted to the strut with the bolts through, and then got those tightened up to 77 plus. And then we had, I think these were 48 on these two, and then 77 on the vertical one. We just hit 74, I believe, on the bracket bolts. Got to still tighten up this one when the weight's on it and it's on the ground so it can't spin. And the ball joint needs to be tightened back up. This is back to 52 plus. That was done a week ago or 2 weeks ago at this point. All I got left to do is grease up and clean this caliper. I'm going to clean up those caliper pins and re-grease them. I'm going to grease these little sliders where they sit in the bracket for the pads. and put it back together. It's going fast. I got so excited to drive my car with, I got my plates in the mail today, custom Colorado black plates. And just want to get it back together. I'm sure the alignment's going to be completely screwed, but yeah, it'll get a new one. Would you look at that? I've only got 5 lug bolts left. Those 2 little bolts over there. One's for the ABS. I got to put that back in there before I get the wheel on. Let's do that right now. It's sitting up there waiting for me. I got to get this out of there. This is all back on. It is tight, 22 foot-pounds on the 2 brake caliper pins with a bunch of brake lubricant on there. This good stuff on the pins so they can slide freely. It'll have to reset and recenter, but it's on there, not rattly. Got the clip back into its place, pinched my finger a little bit on that. That was kind of fun. But let's do the ABS and 5 lug bolts on a wheel. That is the wheel that had the wobble on it. I switched it from the driver or passenger side to the driver's side and see if the wobble feels like it moved. And we'll get that one rebalanced, or we're actually gonna get new tires. I quoted, I think Costco has some Firestone tires for this thing that are like, I don't know, 750 bucks. Probably do those here in a month or two because these tires suck. All right, YouTube, so sitting with my legs just like this with the wheel on there. These are not torqued to the 103 yet. They will be shortly as soon as it's on the ground. But by pinching it between my legs, left and right with the leverage of the tire on there, I was able to get these both to 26 plus 90 degrees, both sides. So those are tightened up, pulled the axle nice and tight. That axle had a long way to pull out. So it is all set. We should be good to go. Drop this on the ground, tighten some ball joint nuts on the bottom with the weight on it, and 103 on 10 lug bolts. And we're gonna take this for a drive and see what it does. First time in, I think, maybe 10 days, a week or so. Since a week. Since Wednesday a week ago, and this is Thursday today. That thing is standing on its own feet. Got to tighten up the wheel lug nuts, 103s, and then the 2 ball joints into the control arm. Those nuts are supposed to be 37 foot-pounds, which seems ridiculously light. But they're not holding anything. It's just got to keep it from lifting off, and they're not going to do that because the control arms are not going to give them that much space. So yeah, the whole weight of the car is carried through those. So yeah, it doesn't have to be too tight, I guess. Seems low to me. Everything else was like in the 77s on single bolts. So, but 37 it is. Plus 35 degrees, I think. And just like that, YouTube, she's back together, ready to drive. I did have to get underneath there with a 6mm Allen key to hold the driver's side ball joint from spinning on its shaft to get that one tight. And then on the passenger side, it just tightened up. It didn't need the 6mm. It just allowed me to tighten it. So take this thing for a little drive, and maybe we'll check those again just to be sure. All right, YouTube, it most definitely needs a new alignment. It did not drive straight with the steering wheel, so we'll get that fixed. That's leaning in a little bit. I'm going to call Firestone and see if we can get it over there tomorrow, maybe. Yeah, it's good to go. That's my first ever lower control arms. And my first ever CVC boot. That wasn't my first outer tie rod ends or first links, but definitely my first CVC boot. And my first lower control arms. So I'm happy. If I can do it, you can do it. Be safe. And just like that, YouTube, it's coming back together. It's a car again. Drivable, electrical glitches are gone. I think next up are just the oil leaks. Just oil leaks. We got both valve covers, timing cover, lower oil pan, upper oil pan. I think in there the oil cooler seal is going to get redone as well. It's got oil leaks everywhere. Literally, if it sits and doesn't run, the oil pans fill up and they just start leaking because they're done with RTV instead of the anaerobic sealant. So we'll get that fixed. But things are looking up. If I can do it with a free XC90 V8 Volvo from Craigslist, so can you. Be safe out there, YouTube. I checked my work on those ball joints, and so glad I didn't take these old bolts. This is the one that came off really, really difficult. I think this was the passenger side one, if I remember right. It was really, really bad, and I was digging into it before I got a better driver socket, impact socket. But this bolt, I think this one was not correct at the very beginning. It was brand new with my Limforder ball joints, but when it went on, it did not feel right. It just didn't feel right when we threaded it on. It never tightened up. I went back under there just to check my tightness on the ball joints again after driving it, and this one, actually with the sun going down outside, I could see, since it wasn't such a glare, that there was a little bit of a gap of light. This flange had not pulled up against the bottom of the lower control arm, so it was not tightening on that ball joint. So I was able to get it off to see what was going on because I couldn't tighten it. It just felt funky. And lo and behold, it is just completely stripped. The threads on the ball joint were perfect. It was just, this thing is just not right. So luckily these were still sitting down there. These are the originals, and they're a little bit taller crown, obviously. But I just went and grabbed the better of the two and stuck it back on there. It went on perfectly. I was able to actually thread it by hand all the way until the thread touched the bottom of the control arm, and then tightened it up super, super tight. 37 foot-pounds to my Auto Jamie click, and now all I gotta do, put a wheel back on there and it's good to go. So I'm glad I checked my work. Always check twice, people. Check twice. Ooh, that was a close call. Glad I double checked and replaced that nut. Bonus, tonight's rain just reminded me to check the sunroof drain holes on these cars. They sit, this is the sunroof, and they sit right back. I'll see if I get my finger on it. It's way, you can see it barely. Let's see if we can get you in there. It's way back in that shadowy corner. Can I get my finger on it? There it is. It's that direction. My finger is just touching it, so it's right back about here. It's dirty, ooh, but it works. I poured water in right here on this side, water in right here on that side, and lo and behold, just looking underneath the car, it just started draining out immediately. Right there, you can see the water running forward. That is great news, because those can become clogged, and then the water will back up, and its point of egress will be inside, and it usually gets all the carpet on the bottom side of the carpet wet, and you can't tell it on the top because it's draining on the inside of the A-pillar here, and then it gets the carpet wet underneath the carpet and then it starts mildewing. So that's great news. Oh, that's interesting. This has been broken into before. Would you look at that? I don't think I noticed that. Huh. Someone locked their keys in the car and had to get in it the hard way? Interesting.